It seems we're back in familiar territory. That's right. The unpredictable whirlwind that is Donald Trump is once again stirring up international controversy. Just when you thought he might have exhausted his repertoire of diplomatic faux pas, he pulls a stunt like this. The setting for this latest act of geopolitical theater? None other than his beloved Mar-a-Lago resort, a place that has become synonymous with his brand of impulsive decision-making. And the target of his ire? This time, it's not just one country, but a trifecta of nations. Panama, Denmark, specifically Greenland, and Canada. You heard that right. In a move that has left many scratching their heads in disbelief, the former president has decided to revive his penchant for territorial disputes. It's like he's playing a real-life game of Risk, except the stakes are infinitely higher, and the consequences could be disastrous. So buckle up, because we're about to delve into the latest episode of Trump's wild world of diplomacy, where the rules of international relations are treated with the same reverence as a buffet table at a golden corral. Let's start with Panama, a country inextricably linked to the United States through the Panama Canal. This marvel of engineering, completed in 1914, revolutionized global trade by connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. However, the canal's construction and subsequent control by the US for much of the 20th century cast a long shadow over US-Panama relations. The presence of the US military in the canal zone became a source of tension, with Panamanians demanding sovereignty over their territory. After years of negotiations and protests, the US finally agreed to transfer control of the canal to Panama in 1999. This historic event marked a new chapter in US-Panama relations, one based on mutual respect and cooperation, or so we thought. Fast forward to 2025, and Trump, in his infinite wisdom, has decided to dredge up old grievances, threatening to reclaim the canal for the US. It's a move that has left many wondering if he's lost his grip on reality, or perhaps never had one to begin with. Next up on Trump's hit list is Greenland, a massive island belonging to Denmark. Now, you might be wondering why on earth anyone would want to lay claim to a giant chunk of ice. Well, beneath Greenland's icy exterior lies a treasure trove of natural resources, including oil, gas, and rare earth minerals. And with climate change melting Arctic ice at an alarming rate, these resources are becoming increasingly accessible. Greenland's strategic location in the Arctic has also made it a focal point of geopolitical interest. The US already has a military presence in Greenland, with a treaty granting it control over defense matters. But that's not enough for Trump, who seems to view Greenland as his own personal ice kingdom. His threats to impose tariffs on Danish goods if Denmark doesn't hand over Greenland have been met with bemusement and anger in Copenhagen. And last but not least, we come to Canada, America's friendly neighbor to the north. Now, you'd think that a country known for its politeness and love of hockey would be immune to Trump's bullying tactics. But alas, no one is safe from the wrath of Trump. In a move that can only be described as delusional, he has suggested that Canada should just join the US. Yes, you heard that right. He's essentially proposing a hostile takeover of our northern neighbor, a country with its own distinct culture, history, and identity. It's unclear what Trump hopes to achieve with this outlandish proposal, other than perhaps to stroke his own ego. But one thing's for sure, it's not going to win him any friends in Ottawa. So, what's behind Trump's latest round of territorial ambitions? Well, if you listen to his pronouncements, it's a familiar litany of grievances and conspiracy theories. In the case of Panama, he's resurrected his baseless claim that the United States is being ripped off on canal tolls. He's also thrown in some fear-mongering about Chinese influence in the region, claiming without evidence that Chinese soldiers are operating the canal. As for Greenland, he's invoked national security concerns, arguing that the United States needs to control the island to protect its interests in the Arctic. It's a flimsy excuse that ignores the fact that Denmark is a NATO ally and that the United States already has a significant military presence in Greenland. And when it comes to Canada, well, it seems that Trump just can't stand the thought of having a successful independent country on his doorstep. He's repeatedly complained about the United States trade deficit with Canada, threatening to impose tariffs if Canada doesn't bend to his will. Needless to say, Trump's latest antics have been met with a mixture of disbelief and defiance by the countries he's targeted. Panama's president has firmly rejected Trump's threats, asserting his country's sovereignty over the Panama Canal. Experts have dismissed Trump's claims about Chinese control of the canal as absurd, pointing out that China has no military presence in Panama. Denmark has reacted with a mix of amusement and annoyance to Trump's Greenland proposal. The Danish Prime Minister has said that Greenland is not for sale, while the Danish Foreign Minister has invited Trump to visit Greenland and see for himself that it's not some barren wasteland. And in Canada, Trump's suggestion that Canada should join the United States has been met with a collective "eh?" Canadians have pointed out that they're quite happy with their own country, thank you very much. While Trump's latest pronouncements may seem like the ravings of a madman, it would be a mistake to dismiss them as mere bluster. His words have consequences, and his actions have the potential to destabilize regions and undermine international norms. His threats against Panama, Denmark, and Canada are a reminder that we live in a world where the rules-based international order is under threat. If Trump is allowed to get away with bullying other countries and flouting international law, it will set a dangerous precedent that could embolden other authoritarian leaders around the world. In these uncertain times, it's more important than ever to reaffirm our commitment to diplomacy and the peaceful resolution of disputes. We need to stand up for the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we need to hold our leaders accountable when they violate these principles. The international community must send a clear message to Trump that his brand of aggressive nationalism is unacceptable. We need to work together to build a more peaceful and just world, one where countries respect each other's borders and resolve their differences through dialogue and cooperation. So, let us not be lulled into a false sense of security by the seeming absurdity of Trump's latest pronouncements. We must remain vigilant and speak out against his dangerous rhetoric. We must hold our elected officials accountable for defending the rules-based international order. And we must never give up hope for a world where peace and cooperation prevail.